My daughter looked me straight in the eyes and said, "We need your house for the children." Not, "Can we talk?" Not, "Would you consider?" No, we need, like it was already decided. Like my life was just a resource. My name is Helen. I'm 64 years old, and 3 months ago I did something my entire family still doesn't understand. I sold my house and I disappeared. But to understand why, you need to know what that house meant to me. It wasn't just a house, it was my life. Every wall held memories. Every room had a story. My husband and I bought it when we were 27. We had nothing back then, just dreams and a small loan we were terrified we wouldn't be able to pay. We painted the walls ourselves, argued about the kitchen colour for 3 days, planted the tree in the backyard the same year our daughter was born. That tree grew as she grew, every birthday, every holiday, every Malinka Paramoga. All of it happened in that house. And when my husband passed away 8 years ago, it became the only place where I didn't feel completely alone, because in that house, he was still there, in the photos, in the Creslow he used to sit in the silence that felt familiar. So when my daughter Emily came over that day, I had no idea she was about to ask me to give it all up. She didn't come alone. Her husband, Mark, was with her. He rarely visited, which already made me uneasy. They sat across from me in the living room, the same living room where Emily used to watch cartoons as a child, the same couch, the same table, but the feeling was completely different. "Mom," Emily started, her voice unusually serious. "We need to talk about something important." I smiled lightly. "Of course, sweetheart. I thought maybe it was about the kids or finances or something normal. I was wrong." Mark leaned forward slightly. That was the moment I felt it. Something was off. "The kids are growing," he said, "that they need more space." I nodded. "That makes sense." Emily looked at me, and then she said it. "We need your house." Just like that. No pause, no softness, no hesitation. At first I thought I misunderstood. "My house?" I repeated slowly. "Yes," she said, it's bigger. It has a yard. Good area." My chest tightened. "And what about me?" I asked quietly. Emily sighed, like I was being difficult. "Mom, you don't need a big house anymore." Those words, they hurt more than I expected. "I live here," I said. "You could move into something smaller," Mark added quickly. "An apartment. Closer to us even." Closer to them. The irony almost made me laugh, because they barely visited now, but suddenly I should rearrange my entire life to be closer. "I'm not sure I understand," I said carefully. Emily's expression changed. Less patient now. "We're struggling," she said. "Rent is high. The kids need stability." "And I don't?" I asked quietly. Emily sighed, like I was being difficult. "Mom, you don't need a big house anymore." Those words, they hurt more than I expected. "I live here," I said. "You could move into something smaller," Mark added quickly. "An apartment, closer to us even." Closer to them, the irony almost made me laugh, because they barely visited now, but suddenly I should rearrange my entire life to be closer. "I'm not sure I understand," I said carefully. Emily's expression changed, less patient now. "We're struggling," she said. "Rent is high. The kids need stability." "And I don't?" I asked quietly. She looked at me like that question didn't make sense. "Mom, you're alone." There it was, the sentence that changed everything. "You're alone." Like that made me less important, less deserving, less human. I looked around the room, my my life, my memories, and for the first time I saw it through their eyes, not as a home, but as something they could take. "What exactly are you asking?" I said. Emily exchanged a quick glance with Mark. Then she said it. "We think you should transfer the house to us." Transfer. Not sell, not share. Give. Like it was nothing. Like 40 years of life could just be handed over with the signature. My hands went cold. "And where would I go?" Emily hesitated for a second. Just a second. Then, "We'll figure something out." That was the moment I understood everything, not just what they wanted, but how little they had thought about me, about my life, about my feelings. I wasn't part of the plan. I was just in the way. "I need time to think," I said quietly. Emily looked annoyed. "Mom, this is important." "It's important to me too," I replied. That seemed to surprise her, like she hadn't expected resistance, like she thought I would just agree. After all, I always had, but not this time. They left shortly after, tension in the air, unspoken frustration, and when the door closed behind them, the silence felt different, not comforting, not familiar, heavy, cold. I walked slowly through the house that night, touching walls, looking at photos, remembering everything and asking myself one question. If I give this up, what do I have left? The answer came quickly. Nothing. That was the night I made my decision. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Clarity, because for the first time, I realized something simple. If I didn't protect my life, no one else would, and what I did next was something they never expected. I sold the house quietly, quickly, without telling anyone. And then I left the state. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying every word my daughter had said. "You're alone." The sentence echoed louder in the silence, because maybe I had been alone longer than I wanted to admit. The next morning, I made coffee, like always, sat at the same table, looked out at the same yard, but everything felt different now. Not warm, not safe, just temporary, like I was already a guest in my own life, and that's when the thought came, clear, sharp, almost chooja. What if I don't give it to them? Not out of spite, not to punish, but because it was mine, my life, my home, my decision. I took a slow sip of coffee, and then another thought followed, even stronger. What if I leave? My heart skipped. Leave? At 64? Start over? The idea should have scared me, but instead, it felt like air after being underwater. By noon, I had called a real estate agent, a woman named Carla, professional, fast, direct. "Are you looking to sell quickly?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "How quickly?" I hesitated for a second. Then, "As soon as possible." There was a pause. Then she said something that changed everything. "If the house is in good condition, I can have offers within a week." A week? I looked around the room, my room. "Let's do it," I said. Everything moved faster than I expected. Photos, listing, viewings, people walking through my house like it was already theirs, commenting on walls, furniture, space. "This would be perfect for a young family," one woman said. I smiled politely, but inside, something hurt because I knew exactly who she meant. Emily called 2 days later. "Mum, have you thought about what we said?" Her tone wasn't soft. It wasn't a conversation. It was pressure. "Yes," I said calmly. "And I'm still thinking," she sighed. "Mum, we don't have time for this." I almost laughed. "You didn't have time to think about me either," I replied. Silence then. "That's not fair." No, I said quietly, it isn't. 3 days later, I got an offer, a good one. Cash, fast closing, no complications. I stared at the number for a long time. This was it, 40 years, reduced to a decision on paper. My hands were shaking slightly when I signed, but not from doubt, from something else, something I hadn't felt in years, control. I didn't tell Emily, not yet. I packed slowly, carefully, only what mattered. Clothes, photos, a few personal things. The rest I left behind because I realised something important. A house holds memories, but it doesn't keep them. I do. The day before closing, Emily showed up, unannounced, of course. She walked in like she always did, but this time she noticed immediately. Boxes, empty shelves, the silence. "What is this?" she asked. I stayed calm. "I'm moving." Her face changed instantly. "What do you mean moving?" Mark stepped in behind her, looking around, confused, suspicious. "I sold the house," I said. Silence, complete silence. Then, "You what?" Emily's voice pugnaced. "I sold it." "To who?" Mark asked sharply. "To someone who made an offer." Emily looked like she couldn't process it. "You didn't tell us?" "No." "Why?" And there it was. Not "are you okay?" Not "where will you go?" Just "why didn't you tell us?" I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see my little girl. I saw a woman who expected something from me, something I wasn't willing to give anymore. "Because it's my house," I said calmly, her eyes filled with anger. "Mom, this is insane. What about the kids?" "What about me?" I asked. She froze for a second, but only for a second. "You could have helped us." "I still can," I said. Hope flashed in her eyes. "How?" "I won't be in your way anymore." That's when she realised, really realised. I wasn't negotiating. I wasn't asking. I was done. "Where are you even going?" Mark asked. I picked up my bag, walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "For the first time in my life," I said slowly, "I'm going somewhere that's mine." They stood there, shocked, angry, confused, and as I walked out of that house for the last time, I expected to feel broken, empty, lost, but instead, I felt something unexpected, free. But what my daughter didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I hadn't just sold the house. I had made a decision, a big one, because I wasn't just moving across town. I wasn't even staying in the same state. I bought a one-way ticket to a place I'd never been before, a place where no one knew me, a place where I could finally start again. And when Emily found out where I went, that's when everything exploded. The plane took off just before sunrise. I sat by the window, watching my old life disappear beneath the clouds. No dramatic goodbye, no tears at the airport, no one calling me to come back. Just silence. And for the first time in years, it didn't hurt. I chose the place almost randomly, a small coastal town in another state. Warm weather, ocean nearby, far enough that no one would just drop by. That was important because I wasn't just moving, I was starting over. The apartment was small, nothing like my house, one bedroom, simple kitchen, a balcony that overlooked a quiet street. But when I opened the window and felt the ocean air, I smiled because for the first time in a long time, I chose something just for me. The first week felt strange, too quiet, too new, no Pravitchnik sounds, no familiar places, no memories, and yet that was exactly what I needed. I started small. Morning walks by the water, coffee at the same little cafe every day, learning the names of streets, the rhythm of this new place. It wasn't my old life, but it was peaceful. Then something unexpected happened. I started changing, not physically, something deeper. I stopped waiting for calls that never came, stopped checking my phone every hour, stopped feeling guilty for choosing myself, and slowly, I began to feel like a person again, not just a mother, not just someone's past, but me. 2 weeks passed, then 3, and for the first time since everything happened, I laughed, really laughed, at something silly the barista said, and it caught me off guard because I realized I hadn't done that in years. Then my phone rang, unknown number. I stared at it. Something inside me already knew. I answered, "Mom." "Emily." Of course, her voice wasn't angry this time. It was something else, tense, sharp. "Where are you?" she asked. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the ocean. "I'm safe," I said. That's not what I asked." "I know." Silence. Then, "We've been trying to reach you. Me and Mark." I almost smiled. "Of course." "Why?" I asked calmly. Another pause, longer this time. "Because you disappeared," she said. "No," I replied quietly. "I left." Her breathing changed. I could hear the frustration building again. "Mom, this isn't funny." "I'm not laughing." "Do you realize what you've done?" That question, it used to scare me, make me doubt myself. But now, "No," I said. "Do you realize what you asked me to do?" Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Good. "We needed help," she said finally, "and I needed respect." Her voice sharpened. "So you just ran away?" "No," I said again. "I chose myself." That hit her. I could feel it through the phone, because that wasn't something she expected from me, not from the version of me she knew. "Where are you?" she asked again, this time quieter, almost demanding. I looked at the ocean, the sunlight on the water, the life I was slowly building, and I made a decision. "I'm not telling you." "What?" "Not yet." "Mom, that's ridiculous." "No," I said calmly. What was ridiculous was thinking I would give up everything without a second thought. Her voice cracked slightly now. "Do you even care about your grandchildren?" That one hurt. Of course it did. But I didn't let it break me. "I love them," I said softly. "Then how can you do this?" I took a deep breath and finally said the truth, because loving them doesn't mean I stop existing. Silence. Complete silence. "I don't recognize you anymore," she whispered. That sentence, it could have broken me once, but now, "Neither do I said, "and that's the point." She hung up. No goodbye, no resolution, just disconnection. But this time, I didn't feel empty after. I felt steady, like I'd finally said what needed to be said. A few days passed, quiet again, peaceful, until one morning there was a knock on my door. I frowned. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened it, and my heart dropped. Emily, standing there with Mark behind her and the look on her face. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something deeper, something dangerous, because this time she hadn't come to ask. She had come to take control. Again. "Mom," she said, stepping inside without waiting, "we need to talk." I closed the door slowly behind them, and for the first time since I left, I felt it again, that tension, that pressure. But this time, I wasn't the same woman anymore, and what happened next would change our relationship forever. I didn't invite them in. That was the first difference, but Emily walked past me anyway, like she always used to, like nothing had changed, except everything had. She stopped in the middle of the room, looked around. Small space, simple furniture, no history, no memories she could claim. Her face scrivelous slightly. This is where you live now? She asked. There was something in her tone, not concern, judgment. Yes, I said calmly. Mark leaned against the wall, arms crossed, silent, observing, calculating. That made me uneasy. Emily turned back to me. Mum, what are you doing? I didn't answer immediately, because I realised something important. She wasn't asking to understand. She was asking to regain control. So I asked instead, what do you want, Emily? That caught her off guard, just for a second. Then she straightened. We need to fix this. Fix what? This, she gestured around. You leaving, selling the house, disappearing. I crossed my arms slightly. I didn't disappear. I told you I left. That's the same thing. No, I said quietly. It isn't. Silence filled the room, tense, heavy. Then Mark finally spoke. This isn't sustainable, he said. I looked at him. And what exactly is this? You living alone like this, he replied, making impulsive decisions. Impulsive? I almost smiled. You mean decisions you don't control? I asked. His jaw tightened. Emily stepped in quickly. Mom, please, we're not your enemies. That word, please, but it didn't feel sincere. It felt strategic. What do you want? I repeated, this time slower, clearer. She hesitated. Then, we thought maybe you could help us financially. Of course, not the house anymore. The money, the result, the outcome, different form, same intention. How? I asked. Well, you sold the house, she said carefully. That's a lot of money. And we're struggling, Mom. I nodded slowly. I know. Her eyes softened slightly. Hope again. But that doesn't mean I owe you my life savings. Her face changed instantly. Oh! Yes, that's not what I said. That's exactly what you meant. Mark stepped forward now, more direct. Look, Helen, he said, we're family. Families help each other. I held his gaze. Then why didn't you think about helping me? He frowned. What do you mean? When you asked for my house, I said, where was I supposed to go? Silence. Emily looked away. Mark didn't answer because there was no good answer. You would have been fine, Emily said finally. That sentence, it was quiet, but it hit hard. Fine, no, I repeated. Yes, she said a little stronger now. You don't need much. You're alone. There it was again. That word, like it defined me, reduced me, excused everything. I took a slow breath. And then I said something I had never said to her before. Being alone doesn't make me less important. The room went still. Emily stared at me like she didn't recognise me. Good, because I wasn't the same. So, that's it, she said coldly. You're just going to keep everything for yourself? I shook my head slightly. No, her eyes lit up. But I'm going to decide how I use it. That hope disappeared instantly. Mum, this is selfish. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Selfish? I repeated. Yes. I stepped closer. Not angry, not loud, just firm. After 40 years of building something, choosing to keep it is not selfish. She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her interrupt. What's selfish, I continued, is expecting someone to give up everything because it's convenient for you. Silence. Sharp. Uncomfortable. Necessary. Emily's eyes filled with tears now, real ones, not anger, not manipulation, something deeper. Why are you doing this? She whispered, and for the first time I saw my daughter again, not the woman demanding, but the girl who didn't understand. I'm not doing this to hurt you, I said softly. Then why does it feel like that? Because you're not used to me saying no. That was the truth. Simple, clear, painful. Mark exhaled sharply. This is going nowhere, he muttered. Emily wiped her face quickly, then looked at me again, different now, colder. "Fine," she said, a pause, then don't expect us to come back asking. There it was, the threat, the line, the попытка повернуть control, but this time it didn't work. I nodded calmly. "I won't." That surprised her, because she expected fear, regret, desperation, but there was none. They stood there for a moment, waiting, hoping I would change my mind. I didn't. Finally, Mark turned to the door. Emily followed, but before leaving, she stopped, looked back at me, and said something that should have broken me. "You've changed." I met her gaze. "Yes," I said, "I have." The door closed, and just like that, they were gone. Again, but this time it felt different, not like loss, like clarity. I stood in the middle of my small apartment, quiet, still, breathing and slowly. A strange feeling spread inside me, not sadness, not anger, something else, strength, because for the first time in my life, I hadn't chosen comfort, I hadn't chosen privichku, I hadn't chosen to keep peace at the cost of myself. I had chosen me. But what I didn't know yet was that this wasn't the end, because 2 days later I would get a call, not from Emily, not from Mark, but from someone unexpected, someone who would change everything again and make me question if I had really left my old life behind. The call came early in the morning, unknown number. I almost ignored it. After everything that had happened, I wasn't in the mood for surprises, but something made me answer. "Hello?" There was a brief pause, then a calm, professional voice. "Mrs. Helen Carter?" "Yes." "This is David Reynolds. I'm calling from your bank." My chest tightened slightly. "My bank?" "Yes, ma'am. We need to speak with you regarding a recent transaction." A strange feeling crept in. "What kind of transaction?" "The transfer of funds from the sale of your property." My grip on the phone tightened. "What about it?" Another pause, longer this time. "Ma'am, there has been an issue." My heart dropped. "What kind of issue?" "We believe your account may have been accessed without authorization." The words hit me like ice. "What?" "There are several large withdrawals that were made shortly after the funds were deposited." My mind went completely blank. "That's not possible," I said quickly. "I didn't withdraw anything." "I understand," he replied calmly. "That's why we're calling." My breathing became uneven. "How much?" Silence. Then, "Almost all of it." The room started spinning. "No." I sat down immediately. "No, that's not possible. There must be a mistake." "I'm afraid there isn't," he said. "The transactions were approved using your credentials." "My credentials? That's impossible." "Were your banking details ever shared with anyone?" The question felt like a trap. "No," I said quickly. Then I hesitated, because suddenly a memory surfaced. Not clear, but enough. Documents. Years ago. Accounts, access, trust. My stomach dropped. "Ma'am," he said, I need to check something." I whispered. "Of course, but I strongly advise you to come into the branch as soon as possible." The call ended, and I just sat there, frozen, because one thought kept growing louder in my head. This wasn't random. I drove to the bank immediately. My hands were shaking the entire way. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not after everything. When I arrived, they were already expecting me. David Reynolds met me at the entrance, mid-50s, calm, controlled, too calm. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "please come with me." We sat in a small office, door closed, quiet, too quiet. He turned the screen toward me, transactions, numbers, dates. My breath caught. They were real, every single one. Who did this? I asked. That's what we're trying to determine, he said. But you said it was my credentials. Yes. So someone had access. Correct. My chest tightened again. Can you track it? We're working on it. That wasn't enough. Working on it? I repeated. That's my entire life savings. I understand your concern. No, I said sharply. You don't. For a moment, he just looked at me. Then he leaned slightly forward. There is something else, he said. My heart dropped again. What? These transactions weren't random. Cold, sharp, direct. What do you mean? They were deliberate, he said, structured, planned. A chill ran through my body. This wasn't a simple breach. I swallowed hard. Then what was it? He held my gaze. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. Silence filled the room, heavy, unavoidable, and then the thought hit me, clear, terrifying. Emily, no, she wouldn't. But Mark. My stomach turned. Had they? No, that was too far. Even for them, right? Do you suspect anyone? David asked. I hesitated, because I didn't know anymore, and that was the worst part. I'm not sure. He nodded slowly. If you remember anything, any detail, it could help. I nodded, but my mind was already racing, because deep down I knew something. This wasn't just about money. It felt too precise, too intentional, too personal. When I left the bank, my phone was already buzzing. Emily, of course. I stared at the screen for a long second, then answered. Hello? Mum, she said quickly. We need to talk. My chest tightened. About what? A pause, then about the money. Everything inside me went still. What about it? Another pause. Then her voice dropped. We know it's gone. My heart stopped. We know. Not I heard. Not. Did something happen? We know. My grip on the phone tightened. How do you know that? I asked slowly. Silence, too long, too careful. Mum, she started, but I interrupted. No, I said firmly. How do you know? Her voice changed, subtle, defensive. We just heard. Heard from who? No answer. That was enough. A cold realization settled in my chest. Not fear, not panic, something else. Understanding. You didn't come here just for the house, I said quietly. What? You came because of the money. That's not true. Then why do you know it's gone? Silence, and in that silence, everything became clear. This wasn't over, not even close, because now it wasn't just about boundaries or respect or starting over. Now it was about something much bigger and much darker, because the people who had taken my money might not be strangers at all. I didn't answer her right away. I just stood there outside the bank, holding the phone, listening to her breathe on the other end, waiting, because sometimes silence says more than words. Mom, Emily said again, softer now. You're overthinking this. Overthinking. I almost laughed. No, I said quietly. I think I'm finally thinking clearly. Another pause. Then, can we meet? She asked. There it was. Not a denial, not an explanation, a meeting, control again. Why? I asked. So we can talk face to face. We're talking right now. It's not the same. No, I said, it's not. Because this time I wasn't in front of her. I wasn't being pressured. I wasn't being cornered. Mom, please, she said, we're worried about you. That word again, worried, but it didn't feel like concern. It felt like strategy. I'll call you later, I said. Wait. I ended the call. I sat in my car for a long time, not crying, not panicking, just thinking, replaying everything, the house, the sale, the timing, the visit, the questions, and now the money. Too many things lined up, too perfectly. Then I did something I should have done earlier. I called the bank back. "Mr. Reynolds," I said when he answered, "I need details." "Of course. I want to know exactly how those transactions were approved." There was a short pause. When he came back, his voice was different, tighter. "Mrs. Carter." "Yes? The transactions were approved through your online banking." "I know that. From a recognised device." My chest tightened. "Oh, what does that mean?" "It means the system didn't flag it as suspicious." "Whose device?" Silence. "Then, a device that has been used to access your account before." My stomach dropped. "When?" "Several times over the past few years." Years. My mind raced. I didn't use online banking often. I barely understood it, which meant someone else did. "Can you identify the device?" I asked. "Yes." My grip on the phone tightened. "Tell me." A pause. Then, "It's registered under a shared login you authorised." Cold, sharp, clear, shared. My breath caught, and suddenly I remembered, years ago, Emily sitting at my kitchen table. "Mum, it's easier if I help you with this stuff," she had said. "Just give me access. I'll manage everything for you." I trusted her. Of course I did. She was my daughter. "Mrs. Carter?" The voice on the phone pulled me back. "Yes," I said slowly. "I need the name." Another pause. Then, "It's linked to a secondary user profile under the name Emily Carter." Everything inside me went still. No shock, no panic, just confirmation. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Ma'am, do you want us to—" "I'll handle it." I ended the call and sat there, alone, but not confused anymore. She didn't just know. She didn't just suspect. She had access all along. My phone rang again. "Emily?" I looked at it. This time I answered. "Mum, please." "I know," I said. Silence. "What do you mean?" she asked carefully. "I know about the account," I said. Her breathing stopped for a second, then resumed faster. "You gave me access," she said quickly. "I was just helping you." "By taking everything?" "I didn't take it." "Then where is it?" Silence, heavy, crushing. "Emily," I said, my voice calm, "where is my money?" I moved it," she said finally. My heart didn't break because something inside me had already prepared for this. "Moved it where?" Another pause. Then, "We needed it." There it was. No more pretending, no more excuses, just truth. Raw, ugly, unbelievable. "You needed it," I repeated. "For the kids," she said quickly. "For their future." "And what about mine?" Silence again. "You would have helped us anyway," she said. That sentence. That was the moment something inside me closed. Not anger, not pain, something deeper, final. "No," I said quietly. "I wouldn't have." "You don't mean that." "I do." Her voice changed. Harder now. "You're being selfish." I almost smiled. Again, that word. "You took everything I had," I said calmly. "And I'm the selfish one?" "We're your family." "And I'm your mother." Silence. And in that silence, the truth settled fully. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't desperation. This was a choice. "Emily," I said slowly, "you need to return the money." "I can't." My grip tightened. "Can't or won't?" "Both." That was it. That was the line. "Then listen to me very carefully," I said. My voice didn't shake, not even a little. "Either you return every cent or I go to the police." Her breath hitched. "You wouldn't do that." I already should have. "Mum, no," I said firmly. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. You're going to ruin us." "No," I said quietly. "You did that yourself." She was crying now. Real tears, real panic, but it didn't change anything because this time I wasn't responsible for fixing it. "I'll give you one chance," I said. 48 hours. And if I don't, I took a slow breath, then said the words I never thought I would say to my own daughter. Then I stopped being your safety net. Silence. Final. Complete. I ended the call, and for the first time since all of this began, I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel alone. I felt something stronger, unbreakable, because sometimes losing everything is the only way to finally see the truth.